My wife and I have been together for over a decade. We've weathered storms, celebrated victories, and built a life that seemed almost too good to be true. Back in the day, before we tied the knot, we went through a rocky patch, a real make it or break it period, if you will. She was accusing me left and right of things I wasn't doing, which led to endless fights. I'll admit, I wasn't the most pleasant guy during those times, feeling smothered and constantly on edge, but despite all that, I stayed faithful to her. Her friends at work were no help either. They'd fill her head with suspicions based on whatever tidbits they'd pick up from her snooping through my phone and emails. Sure, I flirted with women, but it was harmless. I never crossed that physical line. Meanwhile, she started hanging out more with her coworkers, feeling isolated and desperate for companionship. One guy in particular, let's call him Dorky Dave, always made my radar ping, but I didn't take him too seriously. He wasn't exactly Prince Charming, more like the court jester. He wasn't very attractive, and he was a dork, so I didn't view him as much of a real threat. Even back then, my gut told me something was off. I gave her a chance to come clean, and she admitted they had kissed once. I decided to let it go, chalking it up to a rough patch. We got engaged a year later, married the next, and life seemed to smooth out. We bought a house, had 2 beautiful kids, and I earned enough for her to stay home with them. We were happy, truly happy, or so I thought. Fast forward to about a month ago, we're sitting on the couch, basking in the glow of another idyllic evening, when she drops the bomb. Out of nowhere, she confesses that she didn't just kiss Dorky Dave all those years ago. No, she'd been making regular trips to his apartment for 3 months. They'd hook up, she'd shower, and then she'd come home to me. She justified it by saying she wanted friends to hang out with, not the sex, but come on. She was paying for his friendship with her body. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. The woman I saw as my loving wife suddenly morphed into this cold-hearted stranger. Every memory of the past 10 years felt tainted. I used to look at her and see my partner, my confidant. Now all I see is a scheming liar. The pain is so real, so raw, that I can barely stand to be in the same room with her. I can't remember how I felt about her a month ago because all those feelings have been obliterated by this revelation. She keeps trying to justify her actions, saying she was unhappy and needed validation. For 12 years, she swore she'd only been with 2 men, one before me and then me. Now I found out there was a third, and I can't help but wonder if there are more. How many other lies has she fed me since 2009? The worst part, the images that play on an endless loop in my mind. I see her driving to his place, rushing to get there and get started. I picture them together over and over, especially the moment she decided to go through with it at a second time. It's like a nightmare I can't wake up from. The pain is so intense. I've seriously considered leaving. But then I think of my kids. They're the only reason I haven't done something drastic. Still, the physical pain is constant. My chest feels like it's going to explode. My limbs go numb, and I'm dizzy all the time. I'm a mess. She isn't a complete monster. She feels bad, of course, but she says all the usual things. I was a different person back then. I wasn't thinking clearly. It felt justified at the time. Whenever we talk about it, she turns it back on me, claiming I pushed her to it. She even tries to make me feel better by belittling him, calling him a loser with a small manhood. But it doesn't help. It just makes me feel worse. I don't see a way back to the respect, admiration, and love I once had for her. It's not possible, especially since I never got the chance to decide if I wanted to marry her, knowing what she did. I'm stuck in this sick, painful loop, and I don't know how to escape it. Does anyone have any advice? How do I move on from this and stop the images from playing over and over in my mind? It's hurting me, and I need help. This woman caught her boyfriend and closest friend having sex right next to her when they thought she was asleep. Check out this video to find out what happened next.